Well, hello everyone. This is Ken Hardison, and welcome to our webinar, The Three Barriers to Law Firm Growth. Now, I know you're asking yourself, who am I and why should you even care? Well, I am a lawyer that has been practicing for over 30 something years, and I've written many books on law firm marketing and management. Here's just a few of them: Under Promise, Over Deliver, How to Effectively Market Your Personal Injury Law Practice in the 21st Century, Systematic Marketing, How to Build Your Practice with a Book, How to Convert More Clients with Chris Mullins, Why Lawyers Fail to Convert New Clients and New Clients and What to Do About it. And here's just a few of the events that I've spoken at over the years: National Trial Lawyers Association, PILMA, Wyoming Trial Lawyers Association, Indiana, Atlas, North Dakota, North Carolina Advocates of Justice, Florida Justice Association, and I'm sure there's more I just don't remember. So I sold out my law firm in 2010, Hardison Cochran. I built it to from just 2 lawyers and 3 staff to 13 lawyers and 47 staff in less than 5 years. I was going to retire. I came down to Myrtle Beach and built another law firm, Carolina Disability Lawyers, in 2 years and sold it for 7 figures. I'm also the founder, the president of PILMA, Personal Injury Lawyers Marketing Management Association, and also the founder of the National Academy of Motorcycle Injury Lawyers. So here's what I see is that, we all want less hours of work and less headaches and more money. That's just the bottom line. Anybody in any business wants that. And we all want to double our revenue. At least I think most of you do, or you wouldn't be here. But here's the problem: the bigger you get, the more complex it gets. So complexity generates three fundamental barriers to scaling up your law firm or actually any business in the world. So let's talk about these three barriers and then what you can do about it to overcome them. Barrier number one is ineffective leadership. And ineffective leadership means the inability to grow enough leaders throughout the law firm who have the capabilities to delegate and produce. And when I say leaders, I'm not talking about managers, uh, talking about leaders. And you need a leader for about every 8 to 10 people in your business or your law firm. And it's hard to find these people and it's hard to coach them up to be leaders, but you need them especially as you get bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, barrier number two is no scalable infrastructure. And this is what we call the lack of systems and structures, both physical and organizational, to handle complexities and communications and decisions that come with growth. You know, the bigger you get, the left hand don't know what the right hand's doing. And the more you got people coming and going, and you've got to have an infrastructure set up to handle the business as you grow your business. And then barrier number three is ineffective marketing. And this is where most people realize, but they don't think about the first two. And this is a failure to scale up an effective marketing system to generate a predictable ROI. And that's instead of just throwing up stuff up against the wall, you actually think about it strategically and tactically. So when you remove these barriers, rapid growth is possible. And actually, it's just not that difficult. But to overcome these three barriers takes a little work. So let's dive into each barrier and what you must do to overcome them. So barrier number one, the lack of leadership. So here's the deal: great leaders don't have to be years ahead of their competition, just minutes ahead. So the key is to keep frequent interaction with your clients, your employees, and your competitors. Good leaders are going to know the pulse of what their prospective clients want. They're going to know what keeps them up at night, what are their pain points. They're also going to know and get a great feedback from their employees of what's working and what's not working. And they're also going to keep it, although they're not going to copy, you're going to keep your eye out there on your competitors to see what they're doing. Uh, and if you do these three things as a leader, you being the leader of your firm and your other leaders in the firm, if you can do this, you're going to overcome this barrier of ineffective leadership. And here's the other deal: you can't lawyers. We as lawyers, we think we can do it the best, and we can. But the deal is, you've got to learn to let go and delegate and empower your employees. And here's the other thing I see leaders or owners of law firms. You can't be great at everything. So what you got to figure out is what is your strength, and you want to leverage those, and then you want to find people whose strengths complement your weaknesses, and delegate your weaknesses to other people. For me, for instance, I know how to manage, but I hate it and I'm terrible at it because I don't love it. I don't have a passion for it. It aggravates me. Now, my strength is I'm very good. I'm very innovative, and I think I'm a good leader. And so they call me the ideal guy, and I can see the big picture. But when it comes down to details, the minutia of implementation, I'm terrible at it. Um, so I've hired people over the years and surrounded myself with people whose strengths um, complemented my weaknesses, and that's how I was able to scale and build several big law firms very quickly. It's because I put my ego to the side. I knew what I was good at, and I leveraged that, even got better at it. And then the stuff that I was weak at, I hired other people and let them and empowered them to do it. Now, listen, I didn't. When I say I empowered them, I didn't just give them a blank checkbook and leave them alone for 2 years. Um, you can't confuse delegation with abdication. What I mean by that is, you got to give feedback, and like Reagan said, trust but verify. So, successful delegation requires four things. You got to pinpoint what the person or team needs to accomplish. And we call that priorities. And then you got to create a measurement system for monitoring progress. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it, right? And then you got to provide feedback. You can't just ignore them. And I like to give praise in front of peers and constructive criticism in private. And always give appropriately timed recognition and rewards because people like affirmation, um, and they like to be rewarded when they do a great job. And here's what I see, especially with entrepreneur type lawyers like me, is you got to really focus and keep the main thing the main thing. Uh, you don't want to be distracted by the next shiny object. Um, Repetition encompasses consistency, and you got to finish what you start, and then mean what you say, and do what you say. Don't say one thing and do another. I've seen this time and time again where leaders uh, get feedback from the employees, say, okay, we'll do that. But then they get sidetracked, or well, we're going to do this next quarter, and they get sidetracked. And there's no accountability involved in it, or they just lose sight of it and they stray away and get, like I said, distracted and start a new thing before they ever finish the first thing. You figure out what your main thing is. If your main thing is to build this year is to build a great staff and a great infrastructure with processes, then that's what you do, and you stay focused till you get it. Then, if your next thing is I want to figure out how to have a predictable and steady stream of cases coming in, then that's what you focus on. You make that the main thing until you conquer it, instead of trying to do everything at one time. So the key function of leadership is deliver frequent messages and metrics to reinforce your vision and goals to your law firm. If they don't know what your vision is and what your goals are, how can they help you get there? And so that's where we come in with the mission and mission statement and vision, core values, things like that. Very, very important because your vendors can't help you get there. Your staff, your lawyers, your family, nobody can help you get there if they don't understand exactly what your vision is. So you have to keep delivering that frequent message and metrics to reinforcement, and that means like if you're trying to have a steady stream of cases, then you want to make that the big deal. How many leads are we getting? Where are we getting the leads from? What is our conversion rate? What is our cost per case? What is our cost per lead? How can we increase this? How can we create a system that gives us a steady flow of referrals from doctors and lawyers, past clients? Do we need to create these systems with referral systems? These are the kind of things you need to be thinking about if you're going to scale a law firm. So barrier number two, no scalable infrastructure. Like I said before, as your law firm grows, it becomes more complex, and that's just a force of nature. And I've seen it, I've lived it. You would think you would get your margins would get better and you get easier, but actually it gets harder and your margins actually go down if you're not careful. The only way you'll get around this is systems, processes, and procedures. You want everybody. You look at McDonald's. You know, anybody can go in there and work because they got the same burger. If you go in Louisiana, New Orleans, Louisiana, or if you go in Seattle, Washington, the Big Mac is going to taste the same. It's going to have the same amount of sauce. It's going to be cooked the same. It's going to be the same meat. It'll be prepared the same way. And you don't want, as you get bigger, when I had those 13 lawyers, I couldn't have 13 mini law firms. You want everybody following systems and doing using these forms and these processes. They still can think like lawyers and strategize and all that. But as far as the day-to-day running the business and getting out letters and different things like that, you got to have a process because this creates uniformity and it makes it easier to train and onboard new employees. And I'll tell you the other thing that's so important, it creates consistency in the quality of work product. And that's what you want. And you also need a chain of command. And what I mean by that, I hate titles uh, personally, but you've got to have a chain of command. People got to know who their immediate supervisor, who they answer to, and you got to have somebody to hold accountable. So an organizational chart is essential. And this is just one I made up, but you get an idea of what it is. And when you do this, don't do it by the person's name. You do it by the position because when you're smaller, you might have one person doing three different jobs, but as you grow, then they'll gravitate towards the one that they got the biggest strength in, and you'll find somebody else. Like with my first law firm, my office manager was also my bookkeeper and my head paralegal. Okay, and then we took off the bookkeeping, and then we took off the paralegal, and then she just became the office manager. But if you when we set up our organizational charter where we wanted to look like 5 years from now, or from then back then, I didn't have her name up there three different times. I just had the position, uh, head paralegal, bookkeeper, office manager, and that's what you got to do. And what you ought to do is sit down and think about what do you want your law firm to look like 5 years from now, as far as position. Do you want five lawyers? Do you want 20 lawyers? What do you want? So barrier number three is ineffective marketing, and so this is where most people come to PILMA to start with because they don't know how to differentiate themselves. And here's what I always get when I say, well, how do you set yourself aside or stand apart from your competition? I say, well, we can't because we all do the same thing. I mean, we've got rules and restrictions and ethics, and we've got rules of law and we got rules of ethics. We can't be different. And this is just absolutely untrue because here's in PILMA, I can show you how, and we do show our members how to go through a very strategic process of figuring out what is your differentiator. And what you want to do is, for example, my law firm, our big deal was client service. So here's what we did: we differentiated ourselves. We said that no lawyer can guarantee results, and neither can we, but we can, and we do guarantee you that if you're not completely satisfied the way we treat you, in your case, for 30 days, you can get your file, no fees, no costs. Well, that was a big differentiator. I've seen some law firms say you can call our cell phones. I see some lawyers say they use a book that differentiates them. We got some lawyers who only handle certain types of cases. You know, you might be a lawyer that does uh, only motorcycle cases, motorcycle injury cases. What we do, it's all we do. Um, what you got to figure out is what is it that sets you apart, and there is a process to go through to do that. Now, here's another deal. When you come to effective marketing, you got to answer two questions to people when they're searching for a lawyer. Um, do I need a lawyer? You got to answer that question because they're out there. They don't even know if they need a lawyer or not. If they do need a lawyer, you got to answer this question: why should I choose your law firm over all the other law firms out there in the world? And that's why you got to come up with your differentiator. Second thing is not knowing who your ideal client is. And what I mean by that is, I know you say, well, I want injury cases. I know who my ideal client. Well, not particularly, not in particular. You know, you might want certain types of cases. Maybe you don't want the little slip and fall cases. Maybe you don't want uh, bicycle cases. You know, maybe you just want cases with traumatic brain injuries. Maybe you just want cases with surgery. Maybe you don't want no soft tissue cases. But once you figure out, you know, go back and look at your files for the last 2 years and pick out what were the top 20% of the fees or the top 20% of the cases you really enjoyed working with, and look at these people. Where did they live? Try to figure out what they watch, who they know, and then that helps you a lot because once you know who your ideal client is, then you can target to your ideal client. What I'm saying is, lawyers tend to just throw out a big net and hope they catch some fish, and they're not using maybe not using right bait. Maybe they're fishing in the ocean when they should be fishing in a pond. But the deal, and those are just analogies, by the way. But you know, they're not going to the wrong place. I mean, you know, if you're uh, marketing to millennials, you don't want nothing in the newspaper because they don't read the newspaper. Things like that. And then here's the other deal: ineffective messaging, like bad headlines, because it's always you always make it about yourself. You know, we're tough, we're aggressive. You know, 200 years of experience. Uh, how great bad we are. But the deal is they don't care about you. What they want to know is how can you help me? What's in it for me? But the deal is if you don't have a good headline and you can't be talking about yourself, you got to be figuring out why should you hire me? And it's not going to be because I'm great. It's going to be what can I do for you, the prospective client. And then I see these great, beautiful ads, and they got no call to action, or they got no social proof. What I mean by that is no testimonials. In some states, you can't. But here's the deal: even if your state you can't use testimonials, once they contact you, then you can send them all the testimonials because then you're not advertising that you've got a communication, you've got a relationship. Uh, but yeah, you know, I've spoken for 2 hours straight just about good headlines and call to actions uh, because if you got to get the right message and it's got to be consistent and you got to get it to the right ideal client by the right medium. And then here's where I see all across the country when I was doing my consulting work across the country, uh, I would hire ghost calls, and every lawyer I went to, I said, well, how are you doing on your conversion rate? Oh, we sign up every case we want. And then when I do 5 of these ghost calls and record them, and they listen to them, they would get sick, physically sick to their stomach because the people were just doing such a poor job. And never been to a law firm in the last 15 years that there was not some room for improvement. In fact, I see how bad it was. I created a whole other company called Lawyers Ghost Calls just to do that for lawyers because I think it's so important. Um, or you know you put all this money on online marketing, and then when they submit their questions or inquiries, you wait 2 hours to get to them. Well, that person is already gone to 3 other lawyers by the time you get to them. So you spend this money and then you waste it because you have poor intake. You're not following. And then when somebody's on the fence and they're not decided if they're going to hire you or hire any lawyer, you just forget about them. You're more worried about getting them a letter saying we don't represent you than what you should be is creating nurturing campaigns through emails and follow-up letters and jock and all packages. Uh, and these are the type of things we teach you in FILMA. Uh, you know, it takes 6 or 7 touches for somebody to make a decision, and hiring a lawyer is a very important decision. Unless you get referred by another lawyer, doctor, or friend, it's going to take a little while because they got to know you, like you, and trust you. And until you know that you've got that covered, it'll be hard to get those people to raise their hand and sign a contract for you to represent them. It would be like you going to have brain surgery. You're just not going to go up to the first doctor and say, okay, I want this brain surgery, unless they were highly recommended. You're going to do your due diligence. You're going to research them. You're going to talk to them. You might even want to talk to some of their past patients. These are the type of things that you got to think about. Put yourself in their shoes. This is a big deal for them. You do it every day. It's not a big deal for you, but for them, this is life changing. And then I see so many lawyers in my book, Under Promise Over Deliver. I talk about the three phases of marketing, and that is the first phase, which is what everybody does, is the TV, the PPC, all the advertising. And then you got the second phase, which is when they hire you and you're making raving fans out of them because you give such exceptional client service and such quality work that they can't help but love you. But then 90% of you, once they leave with their settlement checks or whatever, or the rewards, you forget about them. And there's just so much waste out there. Why are you going to spend so much money on the front end to get people to know, like, and trust you when you've got all these past clients that can send you referrals because they're going to be your biggest fans? And 60%, 60, 80% of them would do it if you made it easy for them. And with Pillman, we show you how to do that. I got 15 different referral systems, and probably 7 of them dealing with past clients. Uh, and I'll just give you a taste of it. Newsletters, holiday cards, birthday cards. You got to stay in the top of their mind. Advisory boards, all these type of things that can help it. You take it to the next level. If you're going to scale a law firm, you need to be, as my friend Gary Solomon said, omnipresence. What I mean is you got to be doing everything. When I had my law firm, I was doing 32 different things to get cases in the door, and they were all systematized. Like I said, no systems for referrals, and I could go on and on and on about marketing. So I told you earlier, most law firms think tactically versus strategically in marketing their law firm. And you're getting hit by so many vendors, salespeople. This is the next great thing, or this is the next silver bullet. And the thing is, there is no silver bullet. If there was, I'd have it patented, and I'd be in Bora Bora. But the deal is, it's not one thing. It takes a lot of little things. And I just think it's such a huge mistake for people to think about it tactically. So, in summary, growing a law firm is a dynamic process. I mean, there's so many things involved in it. The leadership team navigates the evolutions and revolutions of growth. And like the growth stages of a child, they're predictable and unavoidable. And to deal with these challenges, the law firm must grow the capabilities of the leadership team. You cannot grow a great firm or a large firm on the back of average employees. You got to have A players, more A players than you do B, no C's, and you got to have a leader by every 8 to 10 employees. And you got to install a scalable infrastructure to manage the increasing complexities that come with growth. Uh, if you don't, you'll drive yourself crazy. You'll be nothing but putting out fires. You'll be reactive versus proactive. The ship will be guiding you instead of you guiding the ship. And you also got to stay on top of your marketing dynamics. So it's like I was talking about. You got to have all these systematic ways of marketing your law firm, and you always got to be on the cutting edge and always trying new things and experimenting and split testing. So really, in this book, Scaling Up, Vern Harnish talks about there's 4 areas that your law firm leaders must address. That's people, strategy, execution, and cash. Uh, and if you have not read the book, I would definitely recommend it. It's called Scaling Up by Vern Harnish. He also wrote Rockefeller Habits. Um, I am a certified Scaling Up coach, and so he has mentored me on this uh, for many years, and it does work. So people, no great law firm was ever built on the backs of average employees. I already said that. Strategy, you got to think strategically and not tactically. You know, who is my ideal client? What is the message going to resonate with them? What keeps them up at night? Now, where can I go to find these people? Who do they see before or immediately after the incident causes them to get hurt? Um, You know, how can I strategically figure out how to get my past clients to give me referrals? How can I keep top of mind? How can I make it easy for them and have the mindset that they're doing that person a favor to refer them to me because I'm going to be able to help them. You got to think different. You got to start thinking strategically other than just saying, hey, will you please give me a referral? That will not work 90% of the time. And in execution, and this is probably where I see most lawyers fail, is they might have the greatest ideas in the world, but listen, you can have 20 of the greatest goals and ideas in the world, but if you only execute one of them, how good is it? I'd rather have two good ones that I can execute and get done. And that's when we talk about getting distracted by all the pretty things out there and all the shiny objects and all the things the vendors got, the next great bullet, silver bullet. And then cash, and this is something we hadn't talked about a lot today. Uh, but here's the bottom line: revenue is for vanity, profit is for sanity, but cash is king or queen because you can't scale a law firm without cash. And so over the years, I've learned and discovered the 11 keys to overcome the three barriers of growing and scaling up your law firm. And if you have had problems growing your law firm to the next level, I want you to pay special attention to what I'm about to say. What you got, what got you where you are, will not get you where you want to go. I promise you. And insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And I didn't say that. Albert Einstein said that. So here's what I want to do. I want to offer you a free consult, 30 to 45-minute consult with me, no strings attached. And what we will do is sit down and examine where you are, how many lawyers, how many staff, what are you doing marketing, where are you spending your money, are you thinking strategically, are you thinking tactically, then what challenges you're facing, and then where you want to be. And then I'll give you a roadmap on what you must do to get there. I know you're thinking, what's the catch, Ken? Well, really, there is none. And there will be no sales for me. I've made my fortune. I've sold two seven-figure law firms. Pilma, I do this out of a passion. I tried to come down to Myrtle Beach and retire, and I got bored. And I got to have a purpose in life. And I love working with lawyers who execute, who will do stuff. I'll be honest with you, I have no patience for working with lawyers who want something for nothing. What I mean by that is they want me to wave a magic wand. It takes work. I didn't say this was easy. It is easy, but it's hard because you've got to be focused. You got to have discipline to get things done. But I can give you the roadmap. Hundreds of lawyers, they call me the millionaire maker, and it's you know, here's the deal. Just being very blunt. My hope is that you're so impressed with my advice and strategies that you won't become a part of our Pilma family. And if you don't, then you still walk away with loads of great information and proven strategies that and other members of Pilma have proven work. So what have you got to lose? Uh, you know, I promise you, you'll take away 2 to 5 actual proven strategies to grow your law practice either way. So, but here's the deal: you got to act now because I'm only doing this for the next several weeks. I'm gearing up for my Pilma Summit, and then I'm going down to Florida, uh, going down to the Keys for a while. Um, so if you want to get a 30-minute meeting with me, just go to calendly.com/Ken Harrison 30-minute-meeting w-Ken.com. That is a mouthful. And then fill out the form to get your free law practice growth consult with me before all the time slots are taken. Um, and like I said, I think you'll be so impressed you'll be part of a team. If you don't, then you're still going to walk away with a load of great information, and I'm going to feel good about it, and you're going to feel good about it. But here's the deal, and this is what I see so many lawyers do. Don't put it off and say, "Oh, I'll get to this tomorrow," or I'm too busy right now. I've never been too busy to grow my practice, to make money. You know, everybody has the same amount of hours in the day. So why is it that some lawyers are so successful and others are not? It's because they take action. You know, great leaders take action. They make decisions. You cannot be indecisive. Here, that's one of the things I think really makes a great leader. If you're going to grow a big business, you've got to make some decisions. And you don't have to make split second decisions, but when there are no brainers like this, when you got no downside other than losing 30 minutes of your life, and what have you done so far? If you're watching this, then you need help. So go below, like I said, right here, fill it out, and I look forward to talking to you and see how we can help you grow your law firm to the next level.